Abdur Kalam Namasat Ubazun Emma Kasamun Impa'at. That is, begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. Anarchy de Kal Pa'ashak Impa'at. U Kalau Shak Kawan Dakoni. Anarchy Kasamun Afaf Pa'at. U Pa'at Kawan Kasamun Afaf Ni. Anarchy Wahu Emma Pa'at. U Pa'at Kawan Wahu Emani. Nu Kadur Naju Emma Kasamun Afaf Pa'at. Awu Kabub Emma Shakas Un. Nuk Kadur Kawun Kalapa Faf, Nuk Ragub de Kalpaat Talama, Ragabni, Kawen Liabake de Kalpaat. Anuki Abad Bina Fastni. Pat Kawan, Anuki. Pat Kadur, Nukadur. Pa Amu, Nukamul. Hu. Pa na Thoaminu Nutshayu, Kawun la Lul Bihu. In English, that is, begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. I am in the love of all, and all love is in me. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one as all, and all is one as me. I can succeed as a part of all, or fail as an individual person. I can be all that I wish in all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. Who, H-U, the guardian, who nothing would exist except by way of him. All right? So where we left off last week was page 31, scroll 8. So I'll read the first 9 verses. I'll estimate the first 9 verses, and then I'll give a synopsis. And then we'll do a round robin. Then Caffrey will read the next 9, then Alani, and then Alex. Mind your mind for the jewels of your soul, even though it says mind your mind, that should be M-I-N-A. Mind your mind for the jewels of your soul. Scroll 8, the more it possesses, the more it wants. 19 times 1 equals 19. Lo, without knowing it, humans are exceedingly plagued by the insatiability of their own minds. 2, most humans are about as happy as they make up their own minds to be. 3, in order to remove this sort of trouble, the craving for sensory stimulation must be removed. 4, once the mind has been stilled and concentrated, it no longer presses one to seek further pleasures. 5, the senses can be controlled through reduction of wants and activities. 6, dietary discipline is essential. 7, furthermore, one should avoid undesirable company as well as stimulants and depressants. 8, television, cinemas, and newspapers which agitate the mind. These influences should be reduced and replaced with periods of sitting in silence and solitude. 9, there is really no right way to do wrong things. All right, the synopsis. Humans, as it states, are controlled by their insatiability for pleasure. The need for pleasure is why people go into these states of mind called depression or anxiety or fear or love. It's rooted in desire. Let me put that off. The mind does not like to be watched, which is why when you sit and try to silence your mind via meditation or some other means, when you try to silence the mind, if I were to say, just sit and let your mind go totally blank, you'll find that your mind is going to throw all type of thoughts in there. It could be anything about what you did yesterday, what you're going to do later today. Your mind is going to throw all type of bubbles, these mental bubbles, to get you thinking on those things. That in itself burns up energy. Now, the key to happiness, as we talked about in the gym, is being grounded in the present. The best way to ground yourself in the present is Do you remember? Yeah, there was something I had said. The gratitude. Yeah, we talked about gratitude is being grateful. When you express gratitude for whatever you can, it could be for waking up, it could be for this meeting, it could be for a conversation. When you express gratitude, that is the highest form of vibration, and it roots you in the present. Now, when you're in the present, then you can learn to silence all of that mental chatter. So when a person sits for meditation, one of the first things you should do is give gratitude, because now it anchors you in your present. And when you're in the present, you can't be affected by the regret of the past, which is depression, or the fear of the unknown future, which is anxiety, because now you're here, you've put your stake in the ground of gratitude, and now you can go into a meditative state. To do that, you simply focus on your breath. You say, I'm gonna meditate for 5 minutes. And I'm gonna think of nothing but inhale and exhale. Now, initially, when you start to do this, of course, your mind is going to throw all these mental bubbles. But with practice, those mental bubbles, once the mind sees that you're not being distracted by those mental bubbles, it'll stop producing those mental bubbles. Then you'll be able to go longer into your meditation and focusing just on your breath. Then you'll be able to not focus on your breath and have just a clear, and you can see the smile coming on my face, because once you get to that clear mind, as Dr. York says, nothing in the world compares to the bliss derived from meditation. Like, people always ask me, why am I so cheerful? Why am I so happy? And it's a lot of meditation. With meditation comes freedom from fear and the fear of death. So I don't know, it's a whole new world once you are able to clear out all of that mental garbage, that mental chatter, that mental junk, and then you're able to be happy no matter what situation you find yourself in. Does that make sense? Okay, let me see, what else do I get from here? Dietary discipline is essential. All foods have gross and more subtle energies. For instance, if you eat meat, you know that the gross it's filled with protein, but it's also filled with uric acid. You know, and it's going to fill up your intestines. It's going to take a while to digest. But there's also more subtle energies. The subtle energies would be the elements that it's composed of and how those elements work with your body. What happens with humans who are carnivores and eat animal flesh is whatever that animal was feeling at the time it was killed is what is going into you. If it, like, especially with chickens, a lot of chickens are just stuffed into these cages where they can't even move just to produce, you know, the egg. And then those eggs go onto the supermarket shelves, and then we consume those eggs. Or that chicken is then killed, and then you consume that chicken. All of that stress, that anxiety, that fear that chicken felt is now going into you, which is why if you're in only in 2 countries in the world, America and I think New Zealand, you're bombarded with all of these drug commercials. Is your leg moving uncontrollably? Here, yeah, take this drug. Is your ear falling off? Here, take this drug. And America and New Zealand are the only 2 countries in the world who advertise and push these drug commercials. It's a game. They deliberately make you sick so they could sell you these products, then make you sick over something else, and then sell you those products. So it's a continual loop cycle that mortals in these particular countries have been caught in. Any questions? All right. Mr. Caffrey, would you take 10? Just take the rest. I think there's 19 verses. Yeah. Take 10 through 19.
Okay. Well, back. 10. Am I in the right one? Sorry. Scroll 8.
Yeah, scroll 8.
8. By witnessing and tempering desires and emotions, the qualities of egoism. 9. Anger. 10. Greed, lust. 11. And hatred are eradicated. 12. Which means to rip out from the roots to destroy. The mind, best friend, worst enemy. 13. One should not allow the mind to dissipate its energies uselessly on vain thoughts. 14. Worries, imagination, and fears. One thing you cannot recycle is wasted thoughts and time. 15. By manipulating the mind, one is able to bring it under control. 16. And compel it to concentrate its powers. 17. However, one must not wrestle with it. Lost time is never returned. 18. Struggle only sets more mental waves into motion. 19. The sum total of all the pleasures in the world is nothing compared to the bliss derived from meditation. Feed your mind, meditations, and doubt, and idle time will starve to death.
Okay. Thank you, Caffrey. You have the old scroll. The words are the same, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm old. So that's the only copy I have.
All right. So what is your synopsis?
My synopsis?
Yes. Give a synopsis of what you
And
just
what? No, like you said, you have to ground yourself in the present and not give in to your ego, which is disguised as anger. Your ego is disguised as greed, disguised as lust, and hatred, and envy, and basically all the sins that your ego produces because it doesn't want to be watched. It'll throw all these things at you. So you're not in control. Your ego is. And you cannot recycle wasted thoughts and time. There's so many times where I get caught up in my worries and my fears, and they grab a hold of me. And all I can do is manage and let them process through. The next thing I know, it's 20 minutes has gone by.
It's true.
And yes, meditation is key. And you just have to do it. You control your mind. The mind doesn't control you. You are not the mind. The mind is a part of you. And when I say that to myself, that helps me out a lot, and it brings me back to what I just read. Okay. That I'm in control of my mind. And I like to quote from Dune that fear is the mind killer, because it is. Once fear sets in, you're no longer in control. Okay. And anyone that recognizes that can imprint their own thoughts onto you and basically mind control you, which is what the media does excellently by inducing fear. And then once inducing fear, they imprint their programming onto you. So, that's through MK Ultra, and it always reverts back to creating a psychic self-defense. And all kind of off topic, but MK Ultra has realized that 40% of human beings or Enoshites are easily hypnotized. 50% are swayed other way, 10% debunk the programming at all costs. So what does that mean? That means 40% of people ain't got no force field. I mean, you can be mind controlled whenever you want, unless you're aware of it. Once you're aware of it, you can build that psychic self-defense, that energy field around your mind, and basically setting boundaries for your mind so you're not overtaken by these highly advanced, weaponized blisses. Basically, these are tools and training that are given to us by the Most High, and these bastards weaponize everything that's given to us as a gift. I know I kind of went off subject, but that's kind of been my my experience with this particular scroll 8.
Okay. All right. So anybody have any comments on what we just read? All right. Let me go back over something. 11. One should not allow the mind to dissipate its energy uselessly on vain thoughts, worries, imaginations, and fears. In previous readings of the mind, we talked about how every thought has size, weight, shape, color, form, quality, and power. Every thought that you think is consuming a certain amount of energy. When you are sitting and having a lot of thoughts, vain thoughts, either about regrets of the past or fears of the future, you're burning up, you're literally burning up your present energy, which is why some people are always tired. They mentally exhaust themselves. But when you learn to meditate and root yourself in the present, then you're no longer plagued by these mental thoughts that burn up your energy. And I can't stress enough the habit of developing some form of meditation for yourself, whether you do it the first thing in the morning, whether you do it right before you go to bed, because this is your time. If you don't make time for you, you can't expect other people to make time for you. And this is where people get into this trap that, oh, I'm making time for this person, but they don't make time for me. I'm giving this person this, but they don't give time. They're not giving to me. You have to give yourself that time, because once you clear out everything, then it's just you and the cosmos. And then you start to receive another form of energy. We talked about how food has its gross and its subtle energies. That's one form of energy that you can get from food, from water, or from drinks. There's another form of energy that you recoup while you sleep. Then there's the highest form of energy that is cosmic energy that you receive in meditation. The cosmos, like the example I give is like, once I finish work, I'm mentally exhausted. Before I go to the gym, I'll meditate. And then when I go into either 30 minutes or an hour, I go into my meditation. And then after I come out, and then about 5 minutes later, I have this rush of energy. It's an energy that you can't get from sleep. But once you get into a habit of meditation, it's like it's your charger. You plug in, and the cosmos feeds you that energy. And not only that energy, but your thoughts are clearer, your thoughts are pure, your thoughts are more aligned. Like right now, I'm doing 4 jobs. Everybody says, "How can you do 4 jobs?" Because with meditation, everything becomes, you start to see things in their proper lane, and so it just comes natural. You're able to do more things in less time with better efficiency. So I can't stress enough the habit of getting into your own time, whether you call it meditation or whatever you want to do, is when you cut off all sensory stimulation: see, hear, taste, smell, and feel. Once you turn all of those switches off, then other switches come on. Intuition, and then later, telepathy, and then later, psychometry, and then later, I'm missing one, Caffrey. Intuition, telepathy, psychometry, and clairvoyance. There we go. Yes. Those are your 4 higher senses that most people aren't tapped into. One, because you haven't been taught about them. You've only been taught the 5, see, hear, taste, smell, and feel, but you actually have 9. That's clairvoyance, psychometry, telepathy, and intuition. And then there should be 9. 9 is, as you know, you got 1 through 9 is the highest number, and you are given 9 senses and not 5. And this taps into remote viewing. What they're finding now is that humans have this potential to leave their body and see in distant places. Now, the distant places has no limit, nor does time. You can go forward in time, and you can go backward in time. And that's the studies that are going on now that they're just finding out are possible. Questions? Okay. All right, Mr. Alex, if you would open up, as you'll come up to the front. Smile for the camera, big cheesy smile. And now we'll go read scroll 9. Yeah, scroll 9, 1 through 9. Page 33. Start with mind. Yeah.
Mind your mind for the fuels of your soul.
Yes.
Scroll 9. Saving energy. 19 times 1 equals 19.
Yes.
Low, to reduce the outflow, wasting of mental energies. 2. The senses must be subjugated. 3. 1/4 of one's energy is diverted to digestion of food. 4. Which is often eaten for the pleasures of the taste bud rather than sustenance. 5. Additional mental and physical energy is squandered in useless idle talking. 6. Learn control of the tongue, my child. 7. By observing silence for an hour or 2 a day. 8. Our senses have been habitually overfed. 9. And geared to gluttony. The greatness of our faults is to think we have none.
Okay. Now, as you look over those words you just read, what are your thoughts, your synopsis? What do you derive, Mr. Alex?
Personally, I feel like I just read my own mind. Like half the day, like I always think, like when I reflect towards the end of the day, I'm just like a lot of nonsense that was just happening that I'm around, and 2, like I experience in my own mind, and I kind of fight it most of the day. Like do I really need to be thinking about this? I need to really be involving like these questions come to my head. And it's interesting when you say mental bubbles. I always think I'm on the defense of like, do I need to, actually waste my energy on this? And I find it like on a day-to-day basis, like I just, I come across being in like certain situations where I'm abused, and I don't purposely put myself there, but it was small things, just helping somebody out or just hearing somebody out for a minute where it truly matters to them, or it just I just know by reading this, it's really gotta focus on filtering out nonsense, or just not really spending time on things that are just giving you a dopamine dosage of like your natural desires, pleasures, things like that. So
Filtering out, talk more about that. How are you going to filter out?
but taking the time to think about what I'm listening to or what I'm thinking about, and more importantly, like who I'm speaking to, because I'm surrounded by people constantly all day. So it's in the industry that I work in, like for the most part, people are coming in with stress and don't really enjoy the job. So I have to be like really careful just making sure I don't receive that energy or absorb it.
Mhm.
I know that the problems going on, and I tend to do that. Produce energy. So like I have to be a little careful when it comes to just, being in the right place at the right time. And
Okay.
I don't necessarily know when that will be, but I just know it helps when I use my discernment. I'm able to navigate, with the people I interact with, and also just
Okay.
do I got to stick around this conversation?
Okay. No, I got you. All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Any questions over what we just read from Mr. Alex while he's up? No, questions from other people to you. All right. So, all right. Thank you, Mr. Alex. There was something you had said when you were talking about filtering out the noise from other people, not only the noise from your own mind, but the noise from other people, especially being in a service industry or living around women. So, who am I? I wrote up here. One thing that will help you in life, and this is not just you, this is everybody. One thing that helps everybody in life is knowing this. Who am I? When you know who you are, then that leads to knowing why you are. Most people get caught up in making a living that we think there's no time for us to make a life. And so you get people that comes into these jobs that hate their job, and they bring that negative energy to you because now we're at this job and let's talk about how much I hate this job. And then you get sucked into that whirlpool, and then it's just a downward spiral. And I'll speak to America. Most people in America are in that boat. Everybody is just spinning their wheels to make a living. Very few people are making a life. We talked about a few weeks ago why that is so. Most people are in this lane called conformance. It's easy to conform to what everyone else is doing. It's safer to conform to what everyone else is doing. It becomes the norm. When conformance becomes the norm, then all one has to do is control conformance, and then you control all of these people that are conforming. The problem with the people who like to control conformance is that's why they do all of these audits and metrics to see how much control do we have over the population, because most of the people are conforming. And when that's a high number, the powers that be feel good. We know the direction that people are going. We know what they're thinking. We know what they're capable of. The outliers are over here. And over here is the creatives. The creative part of you is the part of you that leads to who am I and why am I? When you are busy creating, that's when the Alani comes out. That's when the Alex comes out, because there's only one you. No one is going to create whatever that thing is in the exact same way that you created. This is when the God you comes out. And I can't predict it. I don't know where it's going. It's you. It's 100% you when you tap into your creativity. But that's a problem for the society who wants you to conform. They want you to be a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew. They want you to work a 9 to 5. They want you to watch certain media programs. They want you to think a certain way. They want you to behave a certain way. That is the conformance. But then when you get over here and you start creating, they want to know, what are you creating? Why and how does it impact here? Because what they can't have is people leaving here and going over here, because then you can't be controlled. That's when you are freer. Here, you're not free. Over here, you're freer, but really no one is free until all of us are free to be who you are at all times. There's the you that I think you are, and there's the you that you think you are, the you present to the world, but then underneath that, there's the real you. The real you is the creative you. The creative you is not a conformist, but this takes courage. It takes courage to be creative and do what you want to do, because when you break from conformance, your mind starts to think, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do whatever? How am I going to pay my car note? You start coming up, your mind starts feeding you all these fears and says, I better stick here with my 9 to 5. Like, you're going to say something.
Yes, because so in other words, pretty much creatives are risk takers.
Yes.
If you're willing to, well, you have to take a risk, and the risk is unknown.
Yes.
Product that you're hoping to achieve.
Right. That's true.
And that's why a lot of risk takers align themselves, let's say, for example, with entrepreneurs,
Right.
because you're taking a risk into the unknown to achieve something that you're hoping for.
Right. The higher the risk,
The higher the reward.
that's it. And so that's really the path to your success, is getting the courage to express your creativity and jumping into that pool of what they call risks. But it's going to be happier for you. Even if you go out on that limb and it doesn't pan out according to how you thought it would, you still have no regrets, because it's you. And that's why people say, I have no regrets. You know, I learned from that, and then I'm going to try something, because you're doing what, not just what you want to do, but you're feeling that your purpose is aligned to this. And when you are moving in accordance with your purpose, then these, what people might say is these big failures, you just see as just a stumbling, a learning curve that you get up and you keep trying, because it's why you are here. Does that make sense? All right, any questions? All right, Miss Lamar, if you would take us, scroll 9, 10, 12, 13, take us 10 through 19.
10 through 19, what page is that?
Page 34.
Ten through 19. 10. One should examine all worldly habits. 11. And curtail them sharply. Fasting of the mind. 12. Fasting of the mind is 13. When the thoughts are weaned from attachment to the many fleeting sensations that they feed upon. 14. The senses do not convey the experience without the cooperation of the mind. 15. An agreeable exercise is to not allow the senses to come in contact with their object. 16. For example, if certain music or television programs are found to leave the mind in an agitated state, 17, they should be eliminated. 18. By withdrawing the mind, the senses are also withdrawn. 19. Remember, if you don't care where your life is going, then any road will lead you there.
Thank you, Ms. Lamar. And what is your synopsis of what you just read?
Kind of like how you do when you're meditating, you kind of release all the thoughts and all of the things that are on your mind. It's sort of the same thing, and I guess you can call that fasting of the mind, and also eliminating things that you shouldn't really be paying attention to, television, music, that sort of thing that's withdrawing from the mind. That's sort of what I get from it.
Okay, good. Any comments on what Lamar just read? All right, let me see. I'm going to add to what she said was brilliantly put, especially about fasting of the mind. There's also a part in here that says the senses do not convey experience without cooperation of the mind. Every experience that you have is conveyed through your senses. We know the world through our senses, what we see, hear, taste, smell, and feel. But none of that can be done without cooperation of the mind. And as Lamar just said, when the mind is fasting, that's when you're turning off those senses from music, from television, from everything that you see, hear, taste, smell, and feel. And once you go into that field of, I'll call it nothingness for right now, that's when your soul opens up. Any other questions on that part?
So I had a question right here where it says the senses do not convey the experience without the cooperation of the mind.
Yes.
Is it in other words trying to say that sometimes you go through experiences where you still do something even though you might not believe in doing it, where you, like, your mind could be a conflict, but your body or your will might still take that chance to do the object.
What do you mean?
So it's saying that the senses do not convey the experience without the cooperation of the mind.
Right.
So if my mind still did not cooperate, however, I insisted on going forward with whatever I need to do.
Right.
Is that going to conflict with the result, since I'm having because it sounds like, or it feels like I'm at an eternal struggle, but I still committed to the cause.
Right.
So I might not necessarily believe in the cause,
right,
but I still did it. And that's where the part where sometimes they say, people say it wasn't genuine.
Right.
I still did it.
Right.
But it didn't come, like I wasn't fully committed to it.
Right. All right. So now you were, I don't want to say disingenuous, but it's something that you just didn't agree with. Let's take a commander that says, you're going to do this, and you're in the military. And so you got to do it, even though you don't want to, you don't like to, but you go and do it anyway. Now, in that, you had senses, see, hear, taste, smell, and feel. You went through the experience. And now, how does the mind react to that? The mind is going to cooperate with the senses. And that experience, all of that is going to be linked: your senses, the experience, and your mind. If you take the mind out of it, you will have no experience because it's not recorded. You would have no sensory perception because it's not linked to the mind. You need this thing, boom, called mind, in order to experience via your senses. That's all it's saying. And without the mind, you would have no experience. Without the mind, you would have no senses. It's talking about the importance of your mind.
But the mind's playing two roles here.
Okay.
as a facilitator and as a commander at the same time.
That's true.
So while the mind can still facilitate, what the senses and what the body is sending through it,
Yes.
the command could be different because, I might feel something towards something else, but that does not mean I want to act to it the way that my senses provoke me to act.
Wait. Let me think about that.
But that's why I say it's an internal, like it could be an internal struggle, right? Because like my senses could tell me one thing because I've gathered those experiences from what I've seen, smelled, touched, and it conveyed it to my mind.
Right.
Right. But let's say I have a mission objective,
Right.
right? Where I have to do something, but from the experience I've gathered, I've concluded that I might not want to proceed.
Yeah, there's going to be a conflict. Right. But all of that is still in the experience,
In
the
unison to the mind.
in right. It's all in the mind. So yeah, you can do things that you can express through your experience and your senses, things that are in conflict with your mind. But it's your mind. It doesn't have to be in conflict with your mind. Why? Because you can change your mind.
So I don't want to deter too much from the topic.
No, this is the topic.
So when people say you're in control of your mind, right?
Yes.
Who are you?
Right. Who are you?
Who are you? Because people say the mind is a part of you.
Mhm.
But the question is, who are you?
Right. That's true. Who are you?
But I'm asking, in the sense of trying to figure out, because, as humans, and a lot of people sometimes do not understand, or maybe they're not bad and we're taught
Right.
that we have one control mind, right? But we almost have two minds.
Mhm.
It's our, logical mind that we process logical ideas from, which is our brain.
Right.
But we also have an emotional mind,
Mhm.
heart. And sometimes putting these in a mixing bowl produces a different outcome, because sometimes you have logical thinkers
Uh-huh.
and emotional thinkers.
Right.
And finding the product of those two, in my belief, is the optimal answer to a lot of solutions.
Okay.
Because sometimes you have to negate logic, even though logic might sound or seem the more reasonable approach, because we're humans. So we attach emotions.
Right.
So that's why I say, when people say you are in control of your mind, those two things are you.
Okay. All right. That's very good, Alani. 1 second. Mental.
Because I keep hearing people say you are in control, of your actions, your behavior.
Right.
I mean, I get it. If you want to indulge even deeper into this, the body and the soul are two different entities, right?
Mhm.
So if you want to look into it in the sense of the soul, right? Then it's different, because now the soul is an energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And is that truly who we are?
Mm-hmm.
The energy, soul, that
Right.
translates into this vessel, which is the body,
Right.
that translates into our mind and
Okay.
heart.
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness, in a sense. Would
Yes.
that be you?
Yes and no.
So who are we?
Okay. All right. So there's something called the mental reservoir. Everyone partakes of the mental reservoir. Alex has his part in the mental reservoir. Alani has his part in the mental reservoir. Travinci has his part in the mental reservoir. I have mine. Lamar and Caffrey, they both have their part in the mental. We all partake of this mental reservoir. Thought occurs not only in your brain, but also, as Alani said, in your heart. They have found that your heart has neurons. Neurons are needed, or I should say on that solar plexus area, they found that there are neurons. Neurons are needed to process thought. So what are neurons doing in your heart region? And we know that there's neurons in the brain to process thought. There is the logical thinking thought, and there is the more intuitive feeling thought. Women are more in tune with that intuition, that gut feeling of thought, and it's never wrong. When you can tap into your solar plexus and your heart and those neurons here, your intuition comes on, and it's never wrong. If you can learn to tap into it and listen to it, what people call that gut feeling, it'll always steer you right, because it is connected to a higher frequency from this mental reservoir. Now, there's the logical thought that the brain produces or the processes that's more linear. It says, because this happened, this is going to happen. Because this happened, this is going to happen. It's more logical. Like, for instance, you have physics and you have quantum mechanics. Physics is over here. We combine this and we combine A and plus B and we get C. We got 1 and plus 1 and get 2. It's the logic of it. Hey, what's going on? Then over here, you have more what's in tune with quantum mechanics. In quantum mechanics, things don't follow the linear path of physics. In quantum mechanics, you can have multiple things. You can have one thing in multiple places. There's Alani there, and I can have the same Alani sitting in this chair. It's not a copy of Alani. It's not a clone of Alani. It's the same Alani. They're finding that in the quantum world, things are not things, but only waves of potential. So the wave of potential of Alani being here, he's only there because when I open my eyes, boom, he's fixed to that location. When now let me make it plain. Let me make it plain. They have found that, and this is something Einstein had a problem with as well.